Hello everyone, Dino here with the update on my Corsair. My last video I mentioned I had pulled the flap mechanism apart, so I was able to get all the parts I needed, got that all built up this past week, and yesterday I finished assembling everything. And today I finally was able to come down and put it together. So it is now currently just after 5 p.m. I've been down here for about 3 hours working with this thing. As you can see, I brought my charger down. Last time I was here, when I went to leave from playing the radio in the car, the battery died. So, needless to say, I had to end up buying a $190 battery to get the car going again. After I got home, it died the next day and recharged it all the way up. Went out the next day, died again. So it had to go. It's lucky it went now than in the winter. But anyway, I brought the charger down because I was trying to jump the airplane battery to the car to get it started, and it just didn't have enough of those jumper cables I had used. Didn't seem to want to do the trick, so I ended up firing up the forklift over there and was able to get the car started and get home. But anyway, since I did that, I decided to bring the charger down and make sure this battery was topped off. So it's been on charge now for over a half hour because I also had to come down with a cut-off wheel grinder to do what I needed to do. So I've got it all done. I just finished it. Had to go through and make one small adjustment on the rod end on that side. Oh dear, I'm feeling it. Again, at outside rod end, because making these new arms here required, they're probably not exactly the same as they're the original arms. I just drilled out the weld on the end and replaced everything with a 1/2-inch shaft. So now you can see I mentioned split collars. There's a split collar there, and that top half of that collar has the keyway in it. You can see the keyway in the shaft. So those babies are tight. You can get an Allen wrench on them and just tighten the living dog crap out of them. So they're strong as hell now. As you can see, I got both sides done. And I've got the bigger actuator in place, which you can't see. But I was going to show everything beforehand, but I just wanted to get it done. I left the shafts long. They were about out to here. And then I put it all together and got it assembled. Make sure those things lined up properly. Again, you can see the split collar on those. So that's a lot better. The bottom half of that split collar is welded to the arm. Again, these are all original arms. Everything back here is original motor mount. I took out the mount. Right there, that square tube is the mount. Bolts through these 2 screws here. I took everything home and I was able to match it up with the old system. And all I had to do was, I didn't do anything other than put it all together. Believe it or not, getting all that stuff in, I had to bore the hole out in the spar to get that 1/2-inch through there. I was able to reuse the old bearing blocks that I had made. I was able to make a fixture to bolt them into and put them in a lathe and bore them out for the larger bearing. And I still have 1/8 of an inch thickness of material left per side. So all I got to do is hold the bearings in tight. And then the new arms in the back, but those were the troublesome things to get in. Once I got those in, the motor went straight in, not a problem. The motor was the easiest part to put in. And then after I cycled the flaps up and down a little bit, this side needed adjusted, just that rod end. So everything's all back together. Let me go ahead and turn on the power. And again, the flap switch is momentary down. See if you can hear this motor when it's running. That's 10 degrees. Okay, let me stop and I'm going to go out this side, I suppose. It'd be easier to see. That's the 10 degree mark. Kind of tough to do this stuff with one hand. It's 20. 30, and I took and adjusted the micro switch in this new motor. It's a 4-inch stroke and I only needed 3, so basically there's 30, and they will go past, but I don't need to run them that far, so they're probably good 35. Now that's straight up. seems like it's possibly a little slower than the other one. And they're up. They shut off all by themselves, and then again I can hit that to the center position. Let me see what I got for hours now. Sorry, 17.1 hours. Still have half a tank of gas sitting on the tail like this. Turn that off. As long as that power's on, that hour meter works. So it's hard to see in there. I think I hit the zoom too. Yes, I did. Sorry, folks. But needless to say, this last week with this chest thing I had, it started out as like a throat infection or something, and then slowly seeped into my chest. So this whole past week, it's been nothing but coughing, trying to kick the stuff out of my lungs. But it was never really felt sick, just a little tired. Lack of energy. Most of it was just affected my voice. Like I said, I'm still coughing this stuff up, but it's breaking up now. I'm past the contagious state. But that took 3 hours to assemble. I kind of expected it wasn't going to go together easy as I expected or hoped. The biggest thing was trying to drill the spar out and get enough clearance for the shaft to turn in there without rubbing, causing more drag, but that should take care of the flap problem. So now the only thing left to do is decide how I want to put some dividers in these flaps to close the gaps when they're down. I've got ideas, but right now I can fly it. It's finally back together. It's flyable. But today, unfortunately, same as yesterday, the weather, I think we're getting the outer veil of the hurricane from Florida. Actually, I'm seeing a little bit of blue sky down there on the horizon. It's kind of off to the north. North is probably that way. But it's been raining, as you can see, on and off all day. Yesterday too. It's only like 70, 72 degrees, but it's muggy. It's definitely humid. I haven't looked to see what the percentage is, but it's muggy enough that you can feel it. So, like I say, I've been down here 3 hours, and my back is done. It's spent. Not going to be able to do much now. Tomorrow, I think looks like it's going to be about the same. Cloud cover and rain. It's just light rain, no downpours or anything like that. But luckily that bigger motor didn't interfere with anything in there. It's nice and free of everything. The crossbar that ties the left to right together just slipped right in, bolted right up with no adjustments. All I had to do is just adjust that flap over there. They were coming up about a quarter to a half inch sooner than this side, so I had to screw the rod end in to shorten that, to pull it in, because when you pull on it, when you're pulling, the flaps come up when the rod is pushing, or when the linear actuator pushes. That's the most force it can exert, is in the push. That's when they go down, and then when the rod linear actuator pulls, that's when the flaps come up. But out on the flaps, it's reverse. When the push-pull is reversed, to where, see, they're all the way up right now, so they're pushed. Push brings them up, pull brings them down. So, whereas on the linear actuator, push brings them down, pull brings them up, which is the way I prefer it, because there's more power to, I think it's 6,000 newton meters in the extent mode, and only 4,000 in the pull mode. That's probably due to the fact that that arm, the screw threads in there, is pulling against the base of the motor where the motor mounts. It's a plastic thing, and as long as you're pushing against it, it has more force available to push. It probably can pull the 6 the other way, but it may pull shit apart, plus that tube screws onto the slider it's like the nut, the ball screw nut, it's only plastic. It's a pretty good sized piece of plastic. I mean, it's got lots of threads on it, and it's got real long threads where that rod that actually slides in and out pushes on. So pulling, there's a chance you could strip the threads and pull the threads. The tube itself, as I was surprised, is like 1/8 of an inch thick, if not thicker than that. So it's all aluminum, just looks like aircraft grade, but it's Chinesium, so it's probably not T6 or anything like that. Who knows? But it's anodized. But either way, it's a lot quieter motor. So, long story short, it's ready to fly again. I was hoping to come out today. I was looking to kind of get some of this done yesterday, and then I seen the weather was going to turn to crap, so I decided to not try to push it, because I knew it was supposed to rain today, and then it was supposed to be nice tomorrow. Now it's going to rain tomorrow, but now it's saying Tuesday is supposed to be nicer. It's showing cloudy pretty much all week, but rain coming in. So it wasn't supposed to rain. It wasn't supposed to rain today, and it wasn't supposed to rain tomorrow, but I guess that hurricane had a change of plans. So now we're getting to this. You can tell this weather's coming from the south. What the humidity is for the cool air that we have, it's still too humid. All right, so last video talking about the heating thing, a lot of people were making comments about, oh, first thing you got to do is move the battery up into the top of the cowling, put an oil cooler in there, and blah 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 blah. It's like, no, I'm not putting no damn oil cooler in there. If those water to oil coolers don't work, factory would never waste the money. Factory car manufacturer would never waste the money putting one of those things in if they didn't work. But you need a good radiator. If you can't get the water temp down without with the oil not flowing through the system to cool it, if you can't get the water to cool, you'll never get the oil to cool. So there was one person had said, how do you expect 210 degree water to cool, 240 degree oil temp? It would, a little bit, but it's not. I mean, my goal is to get this thing down into under 200 degrees constant, since it's a 195. Actually, I would really like to see it down in the 190 to 195 range, because the thermostat is wide open at 195. If it's open full, then it's not getting adequate cooling. So if you can't get these radiators to cool, the oil cooler, no matter what kind well, you can put an air cooler on there to help. But again, some people think, oh, you got to get cowl flaps on here. One person has always been raving about, oh, you got to put cowl flaps on there, get the heat out of there for the cool the engine. It's a water-cooled engine. Airflow over the engine won't do squat. It's a water-cooled engine. They're not designed to wick away heat. Now, the oil pan could benefit some from that, but that's why I have the big hole in the bottom of the cowling, so the air can go down through there past the muffler. The muffler is right under the oil pan as well, so that's causing, probably a little warmer temps, but that's why the muffler's all wrapped to keep from baking things under there. So we're going to wait and see. I told you in the last video, I already cut the holes out larger on the outlets of the radiators in the bottom of the wing. We're going to test that first, and if that doesn't seem to be good enough, then I'll have to step back and reassess it. I don't know if I ever mentioned, but those aren't actual radiators. Those are air conditioning condenser cores or evaporator cores out of a Pontiac Sunfire, like an old 80s, 90s Sunfire, and they were modified. I drilled down through them because they were like a 3-pass thing, and I drilled down through and made it a full flow, full pass. But those radiators are got to be over 3 inches thick, and they're probably 6 or so inches tall. Those two radiators, if you do the cubic inch measurement, width times height times depth, it's larger than the stock radiator in the car. But the one drawback to doing a thicker radiator is the air going through the front pulls heat off the front cores, and as you go back, that heat carries on all the way through until it goes out the back. So the back coils will always tend to run warmer than the front, just because of you're pushing cold air in, and then it heats up the farther it goes through. So the front cores tend to make the rear cores run warmer. But those should have plenty of flow. Like I said, the cubic inch volume of that those two radiators is greater than the radiator that was in the car. So again, my outlets on the bottom, they probably weren't a third of what the inlet was, so that was kind of, you were just jamming the air up in there and it couldn't get out fast enough. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that that takes care of that. So when that comes down, if that brings down the coolant temp, I should see a drop in the oil temp as well, just from the engine running cooler with the coolant. Water should help cool it down more. And then we'll see and if we can get a good baseline, and if the oil temps can be brought down to 220 or less from that, then I won't need an oil cooler. But if they still tend to run over 220, then I'll start looking into the oil cooler. But again, like I said, it'll be mounted up here behind the air filter with a remote mount filter, so the oil cooler will go on there and it'll be liquid cooler, because that's going to be the easiest thing for me to put in here. If I was to try and fit in a radiator or something, you could probably put in a third one in here, whether it's oil or engine coolant. Then I would have to start cutting out the cowling. But I'm going to try and get some flight time on this thing before winter, and then depending on how the temperatures go and what comes of it, then maybe I'll do the cowling thing if I have to do some kind of cooling up here. Plus, I eventually do want to get a landing light, taxi light in here, along with nav lights and tail lights. So that's the plan for that. So, as always, I appreciate everybody leaving the comments. I listen, I read them all. Even that one from the flight, that had got over 800, coming upwards of 1,000 comments on it. So last I saw, it was like 22,000 views. So it did well. Pleased with that. So that'll give me a couple $100 next month. So I made it's over $230 for the month of September. Tomorrow's the end of the month, so there's still one day left for it to go up, but might see $240, $250 for the end of the month, which helps because I'll need that money to buy parts. So sorry about that, but otherwise, I'm feeling fine. It's just this nagging cough to get this mucus out of my lungs. But not sure what it was. If I went to the hospital, I guarantee you they're going to say, "Oh, you had COVID." You go in there and tell them, "I got this really bad sore elbow, it hurts when I do this," and they're going to say, "Oh, you got COVID." So no matter what you do, you got COVID. So to hell with those people. I haven't been back to them. All they've done is piss me off, hospitals. All right, folks, I'm going to call it a day. I think this has got plenty of a charge on it for now. It should fire up. That's been a really great little battery. I bought that at O'Reilly's. It's one of their little purple power type things. It's a glass mat, acid glass mat, and I bought that thing like over 5 years ago, and it's still just is great. I mean, I sat all winter long without touching it. 3 months plus, come down here, and it just rolls right over. Unbelievable. I've never had that's a motorcycle battery. I've never had one of them work that well in my gyrocopters. I've always had like Volkswagen engines, so it had electronic ignition, needed a battery, and I'd go through like a battery a year on my gyros. But that little thing has just impressed the hell out of me. So, and then the battery I put in the car, I got that through Ford. It turns out Ford had the lowest price. They were $175 for the battery for this car. Advance, where I got that little one, they wanted $200, and Napa wanted $190. So, I think that's all there was. I got the muffler addressed and nothing's leaking. Everything's tied up good under there. I just needed to get this flap back together. Now that's all working great. Looks great. So all I need to do is I got a half a tank of gas. If I pick the tail up, it'll probably be under half, so I'll get a 5 gallons of gas, bring down, and throw some in it for my next flight. I got a couple nieces that are willing to come down and work this camera and my other little Sony Handycam. I'll put my little GoPro Chinesium knockoff back on the tail, and I'll turn it down more so we can see the flaps a little better. I was just more interested in getting the damn thing going and flying. I didn't pay too much attention to see what it was. It was looking out over the nose. It looked good, and I left it there. But this next time I'll drop it so the flaps are seeable a lot easier. And then I'll have to do another flap test and see if they'll go all the way down this time, and see if it helps with the stall or not. But I got my 2 little nieces that'll come down, and I'll have them run 2 cameras. And the only problem is the format on this camera. This is a what is it? Nikon. The China one plays MP4. This one has its own, I think this is MPEG, and then my Sony is .mov. So the problem is I can't tie all 3 of them together without having some kind of software to convert 2 of them over to the 3rd format, so then I can merge them all together. But my intent is to have them on the ground out here. I'm going to take off, come around, do a flyby, and have them record all that, and then I'll come around and do a landing and see if they can catch all that. I'll try to come in farther down the runway so they can at least pick me up. This camera is capable of zooming all the way to the end of that runway, but I don't want them standing out on the runway or real close to the runways doing it. And the west end of this runway goes downhill, so you can't see it from up here. So I'll have to try and come in and land. Unless I'm coming to the west, it'd be easier for them to see me on a landing. So if the winds are the right direction, we'll come in that way and you should get it. But so hopefully the next video, flying video, I'll have somebody down here to get some video of me doing flybys with it, so you can see what it looks and sounds like from the ground. Alright folks, that's going to do her. I'm going home. I'm going to get off my feet, go see what the wife's got planned for dinner tonight. Oh my goodness, my back is sore now after leaning over that cockpit for 3 hours. So, as always, people, appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns, and hopefully these flaps will be thumbs up and work fine, and we'll be ready to go. Everything in the plane looks ready. I took care of all the little things I found, so now I just put a little gas in her and we'll try it again as soon as the weather clears up. But this whole week was looking kind of iffy. So Tuesday was looking possible, but I may have to drive a little extra this week because I missed some time last week from being sick, and I didn't want to be driving around and coughing all over the place in the car. People are so paranoid these days. Alright, that's going to do it, friends, and I will get this up tonight. Again, this is Sunday, and it's probably pushing 5:30, going on 6 o'clock by now. Let's check real quick. 5:39, so I'll get this thing previewed tonight. I have to join it because this camera is doing the same thing the other one does. It only records like 15 minutes and stops. So this is the second half of my recording. So I'll go ahead and get them spliced together and check them out, get it uploaded, and you guys have something to watch until we can get out and fly again. Alright folks, that's going to do it for now, and maybe I'll see you in a couple days. Weather holds out, we can get back out here and give her another go around. Alright everyone, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.